Marco and Entity lining up on that front row. The two Aston Martins right behind them. Craggy could be crowned our champion for this evening. He's got to have the right time to do it, though. 5 red lights go on for the last round of season 26 of One Up, and they are away. And it looks as if Marco has gotten himself a pretty decent start, but Entity trying to line up alongside him, going down towards turn 1. All slotting in nicely behind as Callum and Armed and Lukey both side by side with Casper as well. Casper getting the position up on Lukey. Lukey dropping down into 10th, losing out 2 positions to the RB and to the Mercedes. But they're all filing single file going through turn number 4. As I say that, Ricardo trying to go down the inside of Senna. Senna made up that position on the kick Sauber, but he's looking to try and get it back. Is the Sauber driver not going to be able to do so? Senna moves up into 5th position. Craggy moves up ahead of Entity as well into 2nd position. So he's trying to make his positions up as soon as possible. Kieran also getting the move done on Ricardo. Ricardo breaking almost too late, hitting the side of Kieran. I don't think he's expecting Kieran to still be on his outside going through that chicane, but Kieran now back past the Sauber. Casper now up into 8th position and even trying to challenge for 7th. You can see he's trying to get down the inside of Ricardo, but not going to be able to do so. Now boxed in as Callum and Arm going around the outside of the kick Sauber, almost hits the back of Kieran as well, but Ricardo dropping down positions and almost losing out another position to the RB, but manages to hold on up ahead of the Welsh from behind him as they're all filtering through this hotel section. It's still Marco in the lead. Craggy gets himself up that one spot that he needs to try and push Marco to his limit to try and win this championship for this evening. Senna's up into 5th. Again, Craggy needs that position to be able to say, yes, he can look at winning this evening, as I believe I saw a bit of front wing just fly off of a car somewhere.
I did see it as well, I think in towards 8 and 9, but I think we see some more contact being made so far. This is going to be interesting, actually, in terms of who's going to play the team game, in terms of their second driver, in terms of the likes of Lakita and Senna. And guess what? Those two are fighting right now. And Senna trying to do a lovely move, by the way, into the swooping right-hander, and he's got the mid-job done up to 4th. Now, he's got to be 4th or higher, and he's definitely doing that at the moment. So, but with Craggy 2nd, the championship's still going to go down to next week anyway. So, but with Senna 4th, he's in the perfect position thus far. As we're seeing more side-by-side action happening in the chicane, it's going to be very, very tight. Ricardo is defending for all of his might to try and see if he can get the move done on Kieran. Now we've got a battle for the lead. We've got a battle for the lead. Craggy is your new race leader, and Marco and Entity have to settle for 2nd and 3rd. Callum Unarmed has got past Casper up into 9th. Casper making a little bit of a mistake in towards turn 9, so that was unfortunate for him, but Craggy is where he needs to be, but it's not going to be enough at this stage because Senna is where he needs to be.
Yeah, it certainly does. He's just got to hope that Lakita can do him a solid, even Kieran as well. Kieran's sort of sticking within that DRS and Ricardo. I mean, they're all still in this one big DRS train up to Waitsy on those softs, not making the progress that he would have hoped like Nick has done. He's up into 10th position on those softs. So, yeah, he's done a good old deal of a few positions that he needed to make. The only thing is that he's now going to suffer towards the end of the race because he's going to be on probably a harder compound version than what the rest of the guys are currently on these tyres. But yeah, Mick up at the 10th position. Hopefully he's going to be able to stay there on those soft compounded tyres, but we shall wait and see. As Furious now also getting the move done on Waitsy through turn number 4. Jason as well. Waitsy must have had or must have made a major mistake because he's now about to lose a 3rd position for that, as 2 Ferraris have just changed positions. Even though Nick made that position up on Lukey, Lukey's taking it back off of him. So I think a battle of the egos is going on in the Ferrari camp, Jess.
Oh, but the battle of the sweats, I would have to say. There was people trying out the softs in the P2 tier, but we had a safety car at this point, so it kind of worked out because the softs were dying at this point anyway. But you could see Ivory might trying to go around down the inside actually of Nick in towards this next chicane, which is probably one of the hardest chicanes around this track because you've got to take a really crazy line and avoid the car. You got to drift the car a little bit actually to get a good line, but you could see the mediums are faster and the softs are really starting to fade away. But with Waitsy, of course, again, it's his first race in a while. He's gone into the box and he's going to go onto a set of the medium compounded tyres, and then he'll probably either do another set of mediums or go onto a set of the hards a little bit later on. Meanwhile, Marco is trying to get his own back on Craggy to go for the move in towards this DRS straight. Now, the question is, will Craggy let Marco through in order to do that so he can get DRS in the next straight? But you can see NC's going to try and get them too in towards turn 7, and that's worked perfectly for the Williams pair. Craggy was caught unawares, and Senna's right on the back of this. 3 championship contenders are fighting for position, and Entity is in this too. Craggy's going to try and get back on both of them here. It's going to be hard because Entity has DRS. Craggy around the outside in towards turn number 9. This is probably one of the most common moves you can make around this circuit. Craggy unfortunately has to settle for 3rd. Senna must be absolutely loving this right now in 4th position, but this is the point. I think the Williams knew what Craggy was going to do. He was going to let one of them pass, and the other Williams was like, you know what, I'll go past too. Probably a big mistake from Craggy.
Yeah, I think he was probably expecting just Marco to go past for later. He had to see them through past him, realised it a bit too late, and then it allowed it for both of the Williams to be 1st and 2nd respectively. So we'll see if Craggy's able to try and make up that position again on both of the Williams. He needs to just build up that ERS in order to do so. I think the Lakito just going quite wide out of turn 1. So yeah, he's been keeping up quite nicely with these top 4, but you can start to see he's fading away a bit as Callum and Arm getting the move done on Ricardo before turn number 4. And in fact, Ricardo tried diving it back around the outside of turn 4. And the Welshman manages to get himself up ahead of the kick Sauber. And I think Casper's also going to try and move his way back up through there as well. As Ricardo started off in 5th position, he's now going to drop down into 9th position as Lakito and Kieran were side by side. Kieran, they just started sliding through the chicane though. So I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if there was contact between him and Lakito, but he's now down into 8th position. Ricardo is now down into 9th as Casper has overtaken him, and both of the Williams have just changed positions. Craggy's then trying to see if he can go past the other Williams as well of Marco around the outside of the swooping left-hander, but not going to be able to do so. These Williams are coordinating with each other to try and keep both of those Aston Martins behind, and Senna is, as you were saying, absolutely loving this, Jess. I think he's very happy the fact that he's got Craggy in his sight in front of him and wants to try and claw a few points back this evening ahead of him.
And this has worked out, I think, brilliantly for the 2 Williams, because I think that was one of the questions everyone was asked in terms of, are you going to be helping your teammate in this? And if I was in that situation, yes, I would. If I was Entity, I would definitely be trying to help Marco to try and win this race potentially, or even have a shot himself if he can't do it as well. It's kind of like an Oscar Piastri situation. As all Casper's had a moment, he's lost his front wing in towards T1. We didn't caught the end of that, but unfortunately, his race has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. And he's been feeling bad that he hasn't been helping his teammate that much to help for the constructors. This is very bad for Mercedes for the constructors, actually, because we got both Aston Martins of Craggy and Lakito in 3rd and 5th. I think we could see a situation where we could see Aston Martin being crowned champions tonight, but highly unlikely. As we can see, Marco, they've been switching DRS with each other, which is fair play. It's not going to do any harm because it's pretty much keeping Craggy and Senna right behind. What Lakito's got to do is Lakito's got to get past Senna. He's got to, because then he could work with Craggy a bit more. As Senna's just had a bit of a tank slapper, this could invite Lakito to try and get a move done soon.
Yeah, it certainly could have. He's also got Callum all over the back of him as well. So what was about an 11-car train has now been split up into a 6-car train for the lead of this race. At the tail end being the Welshman in the RB. He's been missing a couple of races, but of course also having his maiden win in 100 P1, I believe, this season. So he wants to try and look for a 2nd win for this season. We'll see if he's able to do it. But yeah, Lakito, the wise old German, all over the back of Senna. And obviously he wants to try and do his teammate solid, but he's not going to try and play it stupid. He's going to wait for the right time and then pounce on the Mercedes as they're making way down in the DRS straight. Casper into the pits. I think he just had a slide out of turn 1. I think that's just what caused him to lose his front wing entirely. But Entity has now gotten past Marco. So the two Williams swapping positions, and depending on the run that Craggy's going to get on these two Williams, I think he's just going to have to remain in third position at the moment. But the two Williams are swapping constantly to try and build out their lead from these other three here, or these other four. And they've almost done it. Senna is almost a second behind now the top three. In fact, he is over a second behind the top three.
Yeah, but he's very lucky that Craggy's in third place, because otherwise if he drops a few more positions, then he's pretty much stuffed. So I've had this situation today. If you're out of DRS, you're pretty much screwed, and you've got to burn the ERS to try and close up to them, which you don't really want to do. Now you can see Marco going in into the pits. Now...
That's Senna as well.
And Senna as well. Now we're going to keep an eye on the pits, because I've experienced this earlier on, but the game unfairly gives you warnings even if you have four wheels on the track. So that's going to be interesting to see if anyone picks up any warnings. But if we see 3-second time penalties when they come in the pit lane, those penalties could get removed if their four wheels are coming into the pit entry, and as long as they don't get any other warnings. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on, of course. So if you do see penalties coming out the pits, as Craggy does take the lead of this race, and because obviously Entity doesn't have Marco around him, Craggy was able to go and get the job done. We'll see if Lakitu can try and close in on Entity now, but I know Entity's going to have the DRS to try and close in on Craggy. Here he comes in towards turn number 9. The swooping left-hander coming up. There he goes, and he's into the lead of the race, but Craggy's going to get the switch back in towards turn number 10 now, side by side. You can't afford to make any mistakes, but Entity still holds on to the lead of this race.
Yeah, good battle between a pair of them. Entity very smart and trying to go around the outside. You get a better traction on that outside line, going through that fast left-hander as well. So manages to get himself back up into the lead of the race, and they're both coming in. Lakitu's going to inherit the race lead. Callum and Arms is also coming into the pits. I'd also be assuming we're seeing Kieran and Ricardo into the pits, which certainly are. So yeah, Lakitu now inherits their race lead. I'm surprised one of the Aston Martins didn't also pit last lap to try and cover off the other guys that did pit on that last lap. So yeah, I think they're going a bit later. Lakitu especially is furious, getting a 10-second penalty for speeding into the pits. That's not something that you want to be doing. But Marco, he's just going through turn 1 now, and he has come out well ahead of both Entity and Craggy. The undercut around here, absolutely insane. The Senna has also undercut them, so he's now up into a net second position. That's
worked wonders. And when I was doing practice earlier on, I always was going to plan the fact that to pit early for the undercut, because if you don't go for the undercut, you're just going to lose so much time, and you're going to find it hard for people to try and get past you. So undercut for me is a bit more powerful, but you can see Craggy and Entity are still right on the back of them as Entity gets past Senna. And of course, Craggy is going to be on the newer tyres as well, so his tyres are going to take a while to warm up, but he's going to try and get past anyway. Craggy's going to try and go for a send of dreams, and Endy has no DRS. All the two championship contenders make a slight bit of contact, but I don't think there was no harm done there. Senna at the moment takes P2. That's helping Marco in a way with those guys battling for position there, but that was a very close call between Senna and Craggy.
Certainly was a massive send from Craggy in that fast left-hander, and almost do a bit of damage to his car. I think luckily he's just gotten away with it unscathed. So yeah, he's managing to carry it on as normal. Don't think any front wing damage on that Aston Martin. As Lakitu made his way into the pits, he's now coming out of the pits just coming through that tunnel section. He is well behind Callum and Under. In fact, I think he might even be overtaken by Lukey here. Lukey's just coming around it. I know he's only just behind him. So
Furious out
yeah,
the race.
Furious also into the pits. Yeah, I don't blame him. I think it was one of those races to forget for him. So it doesn't surprise me that he's called it a day with that one. But yeah, I mean, in terms of people that pit already, only two that haven't pit so far are both Jonas Albrecht and Jason, and they both started on the hard, so much stressing into pit probably for another 3 or 4 laps at this point. As Craggy gets a move done on Senna for the net second position, and again, Senna's probably not going to be happy that his championship rival is just gotten past him, but I think Senna's going to try and come back on him. You can see it. She's using the DRS to try and go back around the outside of Craggy, going down towards the sweeping left-hander. Craggy down the inside, Senna around the outside. who's going to be the one that comes out on top of that. Senna's going to have the better traction on the exit of it, but Craggy has the inside and he gets the move done, but they're still both side by side, going through the triple right-handers now up towards the hotel section. Craggy on the inside, Senna on the outside. It's going to have the inside for the left-hander, but I think they're both still going side by side through the double left as well. Very good battle in between the pair of them. Not that much wall banging going on either, and Craggy gets back in the second position. So Senna, I thought he had the move done going through that sweeping left-hander, but Craggy, showing why he is the the champion at the moment, he's done an extravagant job of keeping Senna behind him, and now Entity's gone past Senna.
Ouch. I think that's not what Senna wanted. I wonder if Senna's picked up some damage. I think I'm starting to believe Senna's picked up some damage from the battle that they had potentially, because there was a slight bit of contact, but that just goes to show the contact model in this game is not good, even with the slightest bit of contact, that you could get damage. So, meanwhile, Marco has passed Jonas Olbrit for the lead of this race. He's loving life at the moment, because I think that does mean if he stays where he is, I believe he'll still be in the championship fight. I don't know. I can't do the maths, but I think that will still mean it will go to Miami, as we're still getting more time handle. He's fastest lap points, by the way, inside and outside the top 10, and all points are awarded to the top 12, with first place getting 20 points. And of course, the amount of points you get at this late stage of the game is even more important. By the way, Marco's already breaking free of Jonas by 1.2 seconds, and you can see Craggy's already starting to close in on Jonas Olbrit, and he could get DRS from those soon. You can see that the red flashing lights are showing for all drivers at the moment. They are losing a lot of DRS just to stay within this train. I think Entity's got the most at the moment. He's set the fast lap of the race so far with the DRS. Craggy's going to be in a bit of trouble here, because without DRS, you're toast.
Yeah, he certainly will be, but I mean, he can hold. You've seen he's held his own. Not only just behind that Williams, but behind the RB and through Senna as well. I think Senna is. I think he's lost his head slightly. When I saw him getting overtaken by Callum Land in that last lap, I don't know if he's going to say it was his fault or if Callum Land was going to say it was Senna's fault, but they're both banging wheels going through turn 4, and I think Senna's a little bit hot ahead at the moment. He's now dropped off the DRS from those guys out in front of him as well, so he's going to struggle to try and keep up with them. We're saying that breaking point, maybe it's that he was back in the DRS. It was very nicely worked from him, but yeah, Craggy also has just been overtaken by Entity, so Entity is now back up into a second position. Should be Craggy down into third, but I don't think he's going to be too concerned about it. He's maybe just hoping that Entity can carry him along up to his teammate, because yeah, Marco nearly 3 seconds out in the lead ahead of his teammate, and the undercut for him on those hards has worked absolute wonders for him.
Yep, it has. 2.7 seconds, and I think all these drivers have got to do is they can't afford to fight too much. They can fight once they get close to Marco, but the fighting loses time. So all you got to do is maybe switch DRS with each other. As Casper has retired from the race, that's on the exit of turn 9, and that is a safety car deployed for the first time today, and that is great news. If you're from Entity downwards, all the way down to Lukey, if you've gone on to another set of the medium tyres and you've still got hards left, that is going to be a big smile on your face. As long as we get no other safety cars, your strategy will be complete. For everybody else who has pitted onto hards quite recently or has used hards, they're going to be in a spot of bother unless they opted for the harder option. So if I were you, probably coming into the pits will be the best option now. If you want to say mediums, hards can get to the end from here. Hards are a decent tyre around here. And it's proven that if there's no more safety cars, staying on the hards will be the better option, because you gain the track position. So it's good for if you've done medium or soft medium.
The only other thing as well, though, is that mediums can go to the end from here as well. They're not going to be very good at the end, probably within about 10 to 12 laps of when the safety car comes in.
We saw Leroy do it in P2.
Quite dead. Exactly. So the mediums, they're viable, but they're not the best option. However, for the likes of Marco, for Kieran, who went on a set of the hards as their second stint, as their second stint, I think it's probably worth the gamble coming in, chucking on mediums to go to the end. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Entity's just building up a little bit of a gap. Not too much of a gap, but just so that they're not going to be both.
Oh, that was a pit lane glitch.
Changed.
That was a pit lane glitch. That's going to get removed. Yeah. Was he? He must have been four. Yeah, he was four wheels on the pit lane entry line. So yeah, he'll definitely get that removed.
Yeah. My only thing is as well, I think Entity's going to end up losing second place. I think it's now going to go to Craggy or Callum and Arndt. In fact, yeah, they've all jumped in. The same with Senna. So they've all jumped in. Entity's now down into 5th position. Marco on those mediums, he had that nice little gap from the undercut, but that's now just completely put another void, and we're now having a little reset with the safety car that's come out, and everyone is on a set of the hards other than Mike, Jason, Jonas Albrecht, and our race leader of Marco. As you were saying, Jess, someone picked the harder strategy. I think Kieran did, because he's got on a fresh set of hards.
Yeah, he must have, yeah. Let me just check race director a minute. So did Nick as well. Nick, Waitsy, and Kieran have opted for the harder strategy.
And this evidently is going to pay well for them, unless another safety car comes out probably in about 10 laps time or 8 laps time.
Yeah, I think if there's no safety car, that's worked out wonders for them. If there is a safety car, then they're pretty much stuffed. But again, track position could remain key. We don't know. So yeah, this has worked well for quite a lot of people. Now, if a championship could get decided tonight, this could be similar to what we had in F1 23 for the final race of the season, where we saw the likes of Samba and Aiden fight for the championship. Samba went on to win that race, but it was Aiden that clinched the title because he had the gap needed. So we could see a repeat here this evening. But of course, if Senna wins, then Senna will close the gap. So it's going to be completely different if that's the case. Everyone, I believe, now has done their 2 stops, apart from Jonas Albrecht and Jason, who's done 3. So yeah, everyone has done their 2 stops. It's going to be a straight-on fight to the end. I really do hope, personally, those mediums could last well. If Marco could win this race and get those mediums to last to the end, I think he could be my driver of the day, because he will be absolutely fighting. So, reminder, if Craggy needs to win and with fastest lap, in order for him to win the title tonight, but Senna can't finish 5th or lower with Craggy getting the fastest lap and winning. If Senna finishes 5th or lower, that's him over. But if Craggy doesn't get fastest lap, I believe that's still championship going to Miami. But I think Craggy could just score a point or 2, and then Craggy will be champion anyway. So that is your permutations as well. And we'll see if it happens. The track conditions are getting a bit cooler at the moment, as it gets a bit more light cloud coming and getting more into dusk as well. So we'll see what they can do. And that's a bit unfortunate with the double stacking, isn't it? But you lose so much more time if you stay out rather than you come in at the same time.
Yeah, I'd rather only lose 2, maybe 3 positions as opposed to losing 13. So yeah, I think it as annoying as it is for Entity having a double stack for his teammate, it is worth it. And same with the Key2. Both probably didn't want to double stack for their teammates, but where they've just been so close on the grid, unfortunately meant that they had to double stack. Yeah, it's just a shame for them, but I'm sure they'll both be able to make their way up through the field as well. I'm sure Senna's quite happy that Lakita has dropped it down into 8th position with the double stack of his teammate. So that's one less threat of trying to get him further down the grid compared to Craggy as well. And Entity, I know what he can. Well, I'd expect Entity to try and look at getting a move done as soon as possible on the Mercedes out in front of them. But see if anybody else is able to hold up on this restart. Marco is going to be taking us through this restart. The first safety car restart of this evening could potentially be the last. Could potentially not be the last safety car restart.
Safety cars breed safety cars.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see when Marco does opt to go, and if Craggy is going to be kept caught off guard, or if anybody else is going to be caught off guard. He's just trying to observe when, and he has now gone for it. So just before the second to last corner, he's gone. Hasn't really sort of caught Craggy off board, but it has caught the rest of the guys off board, because it looks as if they have dropped back quite a bit in comparison to the leader at the moment. Kieran, for some reason, seems to be the one that was the only one that was on it with the car in front of him, and is quite close to the back of Lukey. Same with Callum and in fact, actually, I didn't realise he's quite close to the back of Craigie. He has got that 3-second penalty, but that's a bit of an unfair penalty for him coming into the pit lane, as long as he can show that he doesn't pick up any other warnings in this race. And I'm sure that can be removed at the end of that. So, no DRS at the moment. Of course, with it being the safety car restart, we won't get any until the next lap. But at the moment, it is Marco leading from Craigie, from Callum and Arndt, Senna in fourth, Identity in fifth, Ricky in sixth, Kira in seventh, Akiso in eighth, Ricardo in ninth, Nick in 10th, Waity in 11th on his return, getting dove by Iverbrin Mike for that P11, as Kieran also getting the move done on Lukey. Mike goes around the outside and also allowing Jason to go for the move. Bit of a switch back on the two Welshmen next to him, and I think he might have even got both of them done. Jason, what a move that was, without any DRS as well. He's trying to swoop it around the outside of Iverbrin Mike through the fast left-hander, and the Alpine gets that move done on the medium tyres. Well done to Jason. What a move that was to put himself into the points as well. Just a shame he's got that penalty to his name, but hopefully he could try and build out a gap from the rest of those guys. But yeah, very good move from him. Marco's still remaining out on the lead at the moment. It says here car on the top left, but that is definitely lying. We are definitely back on the green flag conditions.
Yeah, we are under green flag conditions. It's a PC thing, unfortunately. It always happens, and I think for it to get removed, someone will have to like spin or something like that in order to happen. So someone, please spin. That'll be lovely. Only joking. I don't want people to spin. Thank you very much. But we are on lap 17 of 29, and Marco is pulling off a brilliant gap to Craigie. And if he could keep that gap for the rest of the race, this could be, I think, golden for them. So we will keep an eye on them as it continues. But Callum, I think, has been looking very racy. And if he could get those penalties removed, he could be on for a podium and could stop the likes of NT and Kieran off their tracks as well, and help maybe Mercedes keep the constructors fight alive for at least one more race, as almost a little bit of a scrum then for Callum unarmed. As you can see, Craigie is trying to burn quite a bit of ERS to try and close in on Marco and get DRS. So yeah, I think he's going to run up very soon, as you can see with the flashing light on the back of his car. So yeah, Marco knows what he's doing. Marco knows what he's doing to keep his fight alive, and to be fair, hats off to him. But Craigie does not want to finish. He wants to keep those P1s and P2s going, because I'm liking those consistent stats.
Yeah, he certainly does, and I think he's going to be able to for this evening, but we'll see if it's going to be the second place or first place. As Senna setting the fastest lap of the race so far, 24.828 for the race at this current moment. Very fastest lap as well on those hards. So I mean, if someone does end up doing a third stop on the set of softs, expect that time to almost be done within sort of like a qualifying lap time. So we'll see. But Callum and Arndt looking to try and go for a move on Craigie. Craigie has completely chopped off the DRS of Marco, and now the Welshman's going to try and opt to go for a move on the championship leader. Senna is also going to try and follow that as well. He's also going to go for it on Callum and Arndt. I don't think he's going to. He's just happy in sitting in third position for the time being. But Craigie loses out 2 positions on this main straight. Callum and Arndt is going to be leading through the second DRS straight, but is he going to be leading at the end of that DRS straight? Only time will tell. I think he was still going to be just up ahead of those guys, and he's almost brought back into DRS of Marco in front of him. So Craigie, I don't know what he's doing with these tyres. I don't know if he's got himself some form of damage or just completely overheated these tyres on that restart, but he is really struggling to, well, try and keep up with those guys out in front of him. And as I say, he lost out that 1 second gap to Marco, and since he lost that 1 second gap, he's just been slow since then. So yeah, I think he might just have to do a bit of saving at the moment, bit of management. I think it's probably going to be the best thing for Craigie at the moment if he wants to try and have a chance at Senna to try and extend that championship lead.
Yeah, I think Senna is going to try and do all he can to make sure he closes on Craigie just a little bit, because the gap or the positions as it stands will mean Senna can take it to the next round in Miami to close the gap a little bit. Marco will close the gap even more as well. I can't remember how many points Marco is right now, but I don't know how many points he's got even needing to, but this could be important for Craigie. If I was Craigie, do not go for the move as of yet, because you're going to lose the DRS, and he is playing a bit of DRS chicken. He doesn't slow down that much, because if you slow down too much, you will get penalised. But luckily, Craggy does not do that. Here through in the kick of turn number 8 now is going to help that Senna has the DRS, so that means that Craggy is not going to be able to get past. Craggy is definitely getting annoyed that he can't get past both of them at the moment, but he might just be playing the patient game right now, because look who's on the back of this as well. Entity's back in this fight, Kieran's back in this fight, Lukey's back in this fight as well, even though he's got a 3-second time penalty. So is the key to. We got a train from 2nd all the way down to 9th.
Yeah, we certainly do, and it's being led by the Welshman of Callum Alarms on his return. Say, I can't remember the last time it was aided to a race. I think he's been out for a few weeks, but yeah, it's obviously yesterday. It's nice to see him back and racing once again.
He's now married.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So congratulations to him for that one. So Callum, as they earned 2nd, Senna in 3rd, Craggy 4th, Entity in 5th, Kieran in 6th, Lukey in 7th, Nikita in 8th, Ricardo in 9th, and Nick trying his utmost best to get within the DRS. I think he might have just clawed it. No, he hasn't, in fact, actually got the DRS on those guys, but it's almost from 2nd all the way down to 13th position. And Craggy and Senna, who again are going for the moves on each other, as it sent in the side of Callum and Armed, and now again playing the DRS chicken between each of them. Craggy is now going for the attack. Senna is also going to have to go on the attack. They're going to go 3 wide in towards the sweeping left hand. And Callum and Armed lose up both positions on that one. And it's going to be Craggy trying to sweep it around the outside, but Senna shuts that door on him, tries for the switch back on that fast left hander, but it's going to have to heel and that one and sit behind Senna. So Senna's now up in the 2nd position, but again, this is probably just setting Craggy up to try and go for an attack with DRS at some given point. There's Rikisu picking up himself a 3-second time penalty now, which is not something that you really want to be doing, especially around this circuit and with how tight everybody is at the moment. There's going to be a couple of positions lost for Rikisu, unfortunately. But yes, Senna up now into 2nd position. Again, that gap is now 3 seconds between Senna and Marco. So my only thing is that towards the end of this race, Marco's tyres are going to be dead. And I'd like to think that those hard runners would catch up to the back of Marco, but he's managing these really nicely so far.
Yep, he is managing quite nicely on those mediums, Marco. I mean, it has worked in P2 tier, so he's probably learned that bold strategy, and I know it will die in the end, but I think it helps with people that have done one-stop races before, because they can manage their tyres better. As Craggy does get past Senna, Callum Unarmed is under pressure from NC once more. This is very, very tight. We like this packed race, and we don't know who's going to come out on top. We always think that we just had a safety car. We did, but about 5-6 laps ago. Craggy trying to shut the door on Senna, round the outside in towards turn number 9, and he does shut the door. Craggy still holds on to 2nd position. Senna in 3rd, Callum Unarmed in 4th, Entity 5th, Kieran in 6th place, and this could be getting very tense towards the end of this one. No one so far, touchwood, seems to be making mistakes. Nick's now on the back of this train, and with everyone else keeping squabbling, Jason could join this train as well. And with people getting penalties, this could drop people way down the order. Everyone seems to be on even pace, apart from Marco, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and Jonas Albrecht as well, sadly quite a bit behind the rest of these guys now himself as well. He's already hoping that a safety car will happen so that he can catch up to the back of the group. But yeah, everyone pretty much within this DRS train other than our race leader. And Jonas is the key to Ricardo side by side for turn 4, a little bit of wall banging between the pair of them. I think Ricardo tried diving on the inside of the key to, and then now side by side making their way down the DRS straight. As I think we're also going to go 3 wide in towards the chicane. Callum on the inside, Senna and Craggy on the outside of it. Callum still going to have the outside. Going through the chicane. He's not going to pick up the DRS. It's going to be both Senna and Craggy. It's going to be a drag race up towards the sweeping left hander. Both well banging, bit of contact between them. Craggy was trying to shut the door on Senna, but Senna is trying to force his way through on that one. Bit of contact as well between Craggy and Senna. Callum is now going to get that move back down on Senna now for 3rd position. So Senna's now dropped down to 4th. from third position on the grid, sorry, from second position, shall I say. So unfortunately, he's now lost up 2 positions, and Entity is also looking to see if he can go for any sort of move on the Mercedes, but he's just having to sit behind them for now. Kieran also trying to see what he can do in terms of his options of lining up a move on these guys out in front. I think he's just hoping some chaos is going to ensue, and some chaos is what is looking like it's happening and is going to be building up to very soon here, Jess.
Yes, on that 23 of 29, Marco definitely must be loving this right now in P1 with them all squabbling along, and if even if we get the slightest bit of mistake up front, that could allow the people near the back to try and gain positions apart from Jonas Olbrit, of course. So this is going to be round, I don't know how many rounds this is of these battles, but there's been plenty of other rounds. As you can see, Callum on arms, I think if I was him, I would wait, Sunshine. I would wait, but he's going to try and go for deep send, a bit of contact being made. The angle, by the way, is absolutely shocking with these cameras. As I'm trying to see, there we go. As Craggy trying to go side by side with Callum on arm. He has a DRS. Callum does not. He's lost one place. Senna's going to try and go for the move as well around the outside in towards turn number 9. Nicely done. Senna is through, which is absolutely crucial for him. Kieran trying to get past Entity as well. Kieran goes into 5th position. Kieran's had one of his best races so far of the season. Of course, Kieran has won in One Hub Racing this season already, but he could be on for one of his second best results in One Hub Racing to help close the gap, to make sure Red Bull does enough for Kieran to get a Red Bull seat next season. That's 24 of 25. I'm just trying to see what the gap is coming down. Because he's having a squabble, it doesn't matter that Marco's on 10 lap old mediums. He could just cruise away.
Yeah, he certainly can. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's just hoping that all those guys keep on battling each other. And yeah, I say it is working in his favour at the moment. So yeah, Craggy though, he has pulled out a 7/10 gap to Senna, and Senna had a little bit of a tank slapper at the exit of turn 4, so he's not going to be close enough to closing on to back of Craggy at the moment. But there's looking at another battle going on. Entity and Kieran both side by side making their way in towards the chicane. Kieran's going to try and hold it around the outside, but I think this is going to yield the position for the time being. Entity, he's now going to start getting his elbows out a bit more. He's got quite a bit of VRS to play with. So does Callum and Armo. So they're both using as much as they can and try and keep up with those guys out in front of them. And at the moment, Craggy's still holding that second position strong as Nick and Ricardo now by side as they make their way through the sweeping left-hander. Ricardo getting defensive on the Ferrari, but Nick is going to have the outside and going to have the better traction on the outside of there. And he'll have the inside for the triple rise, but Nick backs out of that one smartly and just sit behind Ricardo for the time being and hope that he stays within that DRS. But yeah, Craggy's still holding on strong. He's now starting to close up to Marco, so Marco's tyres must now start to be degrading quite a bit because he's now brought that gap down from 2.7 to 2.2.
Oh, now this is going to be crucial for Senna now, because if Craggy does get past Marco, Senna can't afford to lose any more positions. He can afford to lose one, and that's with Callum, but that's it. He cannot afford to lose any more places. Jason just picked up a penalty. We got more penalties this evening, as Marco's probably watching the stream because he's now starting to push even more now. 2.4, now 2.3. Senna realised that the gap is closing down and he wants to try and go for the move. So is Callum on arm trying to go for the switchback. Can't quite do it, but Senna knows that he's not going to have DRS heading into this back straight, but I'm sure he's not going to mind because he's going to try and place his car correctly to avoid Craggy going for this move. Callum, I think, is going to be very brave and try and go for the move too. Craggy's going to try and go around the outside of Senna, but he's being very cautious at this stage. He wants to make sure he gets the DRS still, but you can see Senna is increasing the gap just ever so slightly. NC's closing the gap even more as well. Craggy could not afford to lose time on this because otherwise, again, it could go to Miami.
Yeah, it certainly could. And Kieran also, I was just having a look, he's dropped back from these guys out in front of him, and I've just seen why. He has gotten some front left end plate damage. Now, I don't know if that was that battle that he had with Entity, but Kieran has got that damage on that car. And even though with the damage, he's doing quite a good job of keeping up with those guys out in front. He's just got to hope he doesn't pick himself up a penalty, because otherwise he's just going to lose out another couple of positions from the guys behind him. But yeah, he's doing still a decent job. Obviously, was there just managing to just about extend the DRS. If he can hold on the DRS for the rest of this race, I'm sure he's quite content with just sitting in 6th. But I know Lukey would be listening to the stream, and I think he knows he wants to go for this move on Kieran sooner rather than later, is looking up a bit more in front. Callum and is now past Craggy. Entity was almost going to follow him, but is just going to sit behind him for now. As Lukey, as I was saying, that he has gotten past Kieran. Kieran's going to try and go for the better exit out of the chicane. He definitely got a better exit than the Ferrari. They're both going to be side by side of each other, but they're both going to have the DRS. Going to be using their energy as well to burn. As Callum and also gets the move done on Senna, just before the sweeping left-hander. Lukey does get that move done, and Lakitu also gets the move done on Kieran now as well. So Lakitu's moved up into 7th position, up ahead of the Red Bull, and Lukey now up into 6th. But the thing is that with their penalties, I mean, yeah, I guess Kieran's just hoping that they catch up into DRS so that they can still just get them both on the line anyway because of their penalties.
Yeah, because I believe Lukey's penalty, I know, was definitely on the track. Lakitu, I think, as well. So I doubt that's going to get removed. Gap now has come down to 2.1 as Entity very crucially gets past Craggy into turn 1. That was very brave. A bit of contact between the pair. Then they're going to lose so much time on Senna if they keep fighting like this. As Entity to the left-hand side. This is perfect for the Williams pairing. Entity's doing all he can right now as they now head towards the next left. Well, coming up towards the next section is past turn number 5. Hopefully Craggy has not got any damage after all of this, but Senna must absolutely be loving life up in 3rd place. He's going to try and get past Callum on arm now in towards turn 7. Can't quite do it. This is going to be chaos right now. No more safety cars, so this is a sprint to the finish now.
Insanely as a sprint to the finish, and everyone's still within that DRS train all the way up to Jason now. Unfortunately, Jason losing now that DRS, but those mediums are definitely giving up at the moment. As we can see from Marco's point of view, he's starting to lose time to those guys behind, and they're all still battling with each other. As I say, that Senna now gets the move done on Callum and so Callum's now back down into 3rd position, going to be content just sitting behind Senna for the time being, and Craggy almost getting about that danger zone of dropping out of the DRS from those guys out in front of them. And again, a bit of a tank cycle through the double left. So not only those guys on the mediums are starting to struggle, the guys on the hards are now starting to struggle on the 13-lap-old hard tyres. And we've still got another 3 more laps left to go after this. Sorry, 2 laps to go, sorry. And at the moment, yeah, Marco, 2.1 up ahead of Senna.
Yep, I think unless Marco bottles it, I think Marco's got this win in the bag. He's been managing this race perfectly. I think you could tell he's done one-stop races like this before, where he's gone mediums from quite early on as well. And to be honest, it just shows how good of a caliber driver that he is, that he's able to take those medium tyres this long to the race, 14 laps, which is absolutely crazy. And because of it was done in qualifying. It was done in qualifying as Callum on arm trying to get past Senna in towards turn 7. And there's a bit of contact. Senna's at a moment.
Oh.
That's allowed Craggy through. This could be crucial for the championship.
That's massive for the championship. Craggy now going to try and see if he can go for the move on Callum and I think he's now realised that Senna has had. I don't know what had happened there. I don't know if Callum and left enough space on the inside or if Senna was even entitled to go for that sort of move, but that's now dropped him down into 7th position. We're almost at the permutation point where Craggy, he needs to get past Callum and Arms. I think 1st is out of a reach for him, but if he gets past Callum and Arms and Senna stays where he is, the only saving grace for him is that the 2 in front of him have got penalties. So I think even then it's still going to be tough.
I think it's going to still go to Miami. Yeah, I think it's going to still go to Miami. I think what Craggy needs to do is hope that Marco gets either a 3-second penalty or his tyres just die. But the way that this is going, Marco's just been driving a great race right now. So Craggy can't afford to make any more mistakes. I can't be bothered to do the maths at the moment, but we want to make sure we crown it at the right time. But I think it's unlikely to be crowned tonight, and we will see what happens then. Entity knows that if he gets past Craggy, that Marco's championship fight will stay alive, as there's going to be a dive bomb for Senna. through in towards turn 9. It almost worked out for Senna. Fair play for Diggs, it almost worked. Kieran is going to try and get past them as well. This could be absolutely crucial for them at this stage. But if I was Kieran, I would stay exactly where you are, Sunshine. If you don't want to be involved in an incident, that is for sure. But the gap has come down. What's happened to Marco? The gap's come down quite massively. And, of course, Callum is going to get his 3-second time penalty removed. So I think Marco's going to still win this race. But over to you.
Yeah, so Marco, he's managed to hold those tyres out as much as possible, and he's going to come across the line to take the win for this evening. Very close to going and getting himself a puncture with Craggy in second, Entity in third. Senna jumps out into fourth with those 200 penalties of Akitu and Lukey. Callum Arm jumps down to fifth, so he got back up ahead of the Welsh from Callum Arm. Ricardo down to sixth, Nicky in seventh, Lukey in eighth, Akitu ninth, Kieran in 10th in the end with that wing damage. Lacey on his return to P1 tier in P11. Jason in 12th, I think, picking up it might be his second or third set of points for this season in one hub. Mike just missing out on the points, unfortunately, on those medians. And Jonas Olbrook picking up a 3-second time penalty on the last lap. But I think he's trying to go for the fastest lap. But yeah, Entity only just missing out third for second. Craggy managed to jump up into second, up ahead of Entity. I don't know if he dove him on the last corner, but got that move done in the end. And Craggy ended up finishing in second. So,
but don't forget, Callum's penalty will probably get removed as long as he can prove that as long as he's got his race director, and as long as he can prove that he was all four wheels on the pit entry line.
Yeah, so that would be, if that does, then means Craggy's back down to third. Callum Lance will inherit that second position. But at the moment, Marco has done a fantastic job of holding onto those tyres as much as possible on those mediums. Almost lost it. I think if there was one more lap, those guys that were on the hards would have gotten past Marco, and I think that would have been devastating for him. But managed to hold it up to the end. That's what he needed to do. He managed to make it work. Both Williams 1 and 3 at this current moment. Forgetting if there's anything in regards to penalty wise. Callum and Arms again looking to probably try and get that one removed, but at the moment he sits in fifth, Senna in fourth. So this will go over to Miami regardless, unless Senna picks this up a penalty close race for whatever reason. Then this is looking like it's going to be going over to Miami. So yeah, I think very good race overall, Jess. Driver of the day wise, I really don't know who to go for.
I don't, because of course we have Ricardo, who went and got his best result in one hub in fifth. Nick went from 12th to 7th for Lukey. Saying there's so many drivers that have done so well. Marco pretty much holding on to the win and keeping the strategy working. I think a lot of people just drove so well today. It's just hard to tell who I think deserves it, but I'll let you go first, unless you want time to think about it.
No, I'll go first. I don't mind. I know you said that you're probably going to go with Marco as your pick if he held on, and he held on, so I won't be surprised if that's your pick. But I'm going to go, I'm not going to steal it. I'm going to say Mr. Callum Arndt. I think this is going to be my driver of the day. That 3-second penalty, of course, I'm assuming that's going to get removed as he puts in for the stewards. But even from 11th to 5th position at the moment, before any penalty removals, I still think that's a very good result for him, especially around Abu Dhabi. My question for him was, if you had been at a few more of these races this season, do you think you could have been challenging for this title? Because you seem to be keeping up with the championship leaders this evening and for a few of the races. So could it have just been a bit of bad timing in terms of what he was doing for this season? I say bad timing, he got married, but this, I think could it have been a bit bad timing in terms of his actual season for One Hub, where he looked to be very competitive for this evening?
Yeah, he did, and I just hope he get that penalty removed, honestly. But again, it depends on a variety of different scenarios. And you're right, I am going to stick to my word. If he was going to win on the medium tyres, I was going to give him driver of the day. And guess what? He won on the medium tyres. So, yeah, he's my driver of the day. Absolutely astonishing. And I think, to be honest, the win was mostly done in qualifying. He put his car in pole position. Unfortunately, we didn't catch most of qualifying because of the Twitch issue. But My question for Marco is congratulations on your victory. How difficult was staying on those memes towards the end of the race? And did you think you could still hold on to the race win towards the end of it? Because he almost lost it towards the end of it, to be fair, but he didn't. So, yeah, that is my question. We still got 2 more rounds to go. The championship is still alive and kicking, which I think for Senna, he's going to be relieved. Marco is going to be relieved, but I think he will just be out of the title. We'll have to do the maths. Craggy, he would have hoped that he would have won the title tonight, but he's very likely going to win it in Miami unless something catastrophic happens. But Miami's going to be an interesting one. Of course, the real-life drivers will be facing it. Not many people race in Miami, understandably. Could see some wet weather. This is going to get very, very tasty.
Exactly, there's still also play for next week. Obviously, Constructors still up there, although, again, the Aston Martins, I think, have pulled away a bit more. I think the Williams are now almost in that second position in terms of Constructors-wise, but I think, if anything, Aston Martin and Craggy, I think it's pretty much a done deal for them in Miami, so only time will tell. Again, one bad race can flip everything on its head for next week, they're just.
Yeah, all it takes is one race, and make sure you join us same time at 7 o'clock UK time for the Miami Grand Prix. And about an hour after that, it will be the real-life Miami Grand Prix. So you get to watch a bit of Miami with us, and then we get to watch the real-life Miami Grand Prix. And it's a bank holiday weekend as well. So what more could you want? One hub race in Miami and then real life Miami. So thank you to all our sponsors, SimGrid, Next Level Race, Investment Team, Pure Sim Gear, Mental Health Foundation. Thank you for bearing with us whilst we switch over to YouTube. We do apologise. We do not know what's gone on. We were discussing it before we went on air. We went on air on YouTube, but it's weird. It's happened before only once to one channel, but it hasn't happened to us before. So yeah, thank you so much for bearing with us. And I've just been informed that Lukey could get his penalty removed as well, because the warning that you got was in the pits. Okay, that can change things quite a bit. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Hopefully we can get our Twitch sorted by the time we go to Miami next week. If not, we'll be on YouTube. I've been Jess Ball, he's been Jacob. We'll see you next week, same time at 7 o'clock for the Miami Grand Prix. Have a good evening, everybody, and good night.